Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to all of you? Here we are again for continuing with the lectures on international relations. Good morning, Sivangi. So we'll be discussing a new country today with which we have established a relationship, and what are the points of convergence and conflict between these two countries, and what role it can play with respect to India. So I hope you are ready. So we'll be discussing. Good morning, Jatin. So we'll be discussing this relationship. Good morning, Amit, everyone. Good morning. We'll be looking at the relationship as we always do with other countries, we'll be looking at some of the things that happened in the past, and then we'll move forward to some of the contemporary relationship that these countries are having with India. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Dhananjay. So we'll start from the time when this country got independence from Britain. It was the year 1966 when this relationship is started. We'll start from here. And Maldives. Good morning, Sazil. Maldives got independence from British in 1966, and India established diplomatic relations. Good morning, Adi. So this teeny country has a history of more or less good relations with India, and because of its economic requirements, of course, sometimes it has tilted towards China, but more or less we can say that we share a good relationship. Okay, so 1966 we established this relationship, and if we talk about historical relationships, of course, the Chola rulers of India had some relationship, had established contact with these areas, and in fact Chola had captured the area as well, but that is part of history. Maybe you'll be studying such things in history. We'll be focusing on some modern relationships. And 1988, after this 1966, the year which is important from the perspective of this relationship is 1988. At this point in time, Abdul Gayoom ruled Maldives. And a coup happened at that point in time. It was led by a businessman, Abdullah Luthufi. He was a Maldivian, and he took support of a terrorist organization from Sri Lanka, that is PLOT. So PLOT is People's Liberation Organization of Tamil Elam. Okay. So note this thing down. I have some health issues today. So maybe my voice is a bit different. But I'll try to make sure that we cover the classes well and you understand each and everything. So, Abdullah Lutufi. He was a businessman. Abdullah Lutufi from Maldives took support of plot to overthrow Gayoom. Okay. So this man tried to throw the rule by Abdul Gayoom with the help of plot, People's Liberation Organization. Plot is okay. So at that point in time, Maldives was not in a position to protect itself as they captured all the important places. They captured all the important places. So India as a good neighbor, we helped them. We helped with the help, we sent our armed forces, and there was an operation called as Operation Cactus. India sent armed forces. And Operation Cactus helped restore normalcy. Okay, so India came up with this Operation Cactus and we helped them. And Abdul Gayoom again became the president, and the relationship between these two countries improved. And then in 2008, Muhammad Nasid became the president. You must have heard of this name. He was attacked recently. He is the present speaker. So 2012, he is the present speaker. Deepak, yeah, no, it was not a golden opportunity. We do not want to force any country to assimilate with us. It has to be a choice, right? If some independent state wants to be with us, definitely we'll be welcoming them. If we feel like they can add to India, but will not be forcing them. But Muhammad Nasir was accused of being undemocratic. He was accused of being undemocratic and was forced to resign. And many things happened. He was not only, yeah, of course, China could have captured Maldives given such coup had happened and it was in neighborhood. And Muhammad Nasir gave an order to arrest the Chief Justice of Supreme Court in 2012. So there were many protests and he was forced to resign. Thereafter, Muhammad Wahid, in 2012 only, this man was resigned. We are talking about him only because he was attacked recently, so he becomes important at this point in time. Okay? After him, Muhammad Wahid took over. He became the president, and this is the man who started having developing close relationship with China. Muhammad Wahid became the president, and he had anti-India attitude. And thus developed relations with China. So he was more inclined towards China with his anti-India attitude. So Muhammad Wahid, yeah, Mani, this is the first slide only. We have started now only. A little bit of things we had discussed, like in 1966, Maldives got independence. In 1988, we had Operation Cactus when there was attempts of a coup. So what he did, this man Wahid, the moment he became the president, he scrapped contracts signed with India. Many contracts, and one of the major contract was of development of airport. Indian company GMR was to develop GMR was to develop an airport. So this man scrapped this. So, and gave this project to China. And you must be aware that what China did. It also did not do it completely, and they were asked to lease it for 100 years, and many of the things in contract which was not favoring Maldives. It still is not favoring Maldives. And now, as they realize that this policy, anti-India policy, is not going to help, because they met with some of the disastrous things, and India was the country which was helping. We'll be looking at how India moved forward with some of the helping nature. And in 2018, this man was replaced. Okay. In 2018, Ibrahim Soleh became president and declared a policy which is pro-India. Now they are coming close to us. This tiny country. Okay, Purnima. So note it down fast. So now we have good relations, and it is a tourism hotspot. Many of the celebrities of India are visiting these places, and you must be seeing in news they are putting up pictures of their vacations, and they were trolled for this reason as well, because India is in the midst of COVID pandemic, and celebrities are celebrating their life. Okay. Purnima, you have left many things. Then you'll have to note it down later, because I cannot wait for such a long time, right? So maybe leave some space and note it down after the lecture is done, because you'll have access to the lecture, right? Because it will take time, and rest of the people who had joined the classes earlier had written this thing. So I want you to leave some space and note down the things later. So note this thing, I'm giving you some time. 2018, Ibrahim Soleh became president and declared a policy which is pro-India. Now we'll look at some of the cooperation, the direct cooperation between these two countries, as Maldives is our neighbor, a close neighbor. So we are discussing it, but with respect to strategic importance, of course, this country has. But in terms of other things, of course, the relationship is more or less stable. So we'll look at some of the aspects which are important. We'll start with the economic relations. We'll try to finish this as early as possible, and we'll move to some other country which is more important. Subham, the first topic of today's class is historical development. That was from 1966. So after the classes are over, you can have a look at the video. You have access to it, right? So we'll continue from here only. Those who are late can have access to the video, and later you can note it down. Not much has happened. It's we have talked about some of the historical developments. So if we talk about the trade, we had signed a trade agreement in 1981. The two countries had signed a trade agreement in 1981, and we have good trade relations. We have India is investing in many of the projects like we have seen, and the role of SBI is very, very important. State Bank of India is a major Maldives. Okay, it provides loans for infrastructure. This agency alone has helped Maldives in many respects. Most of the tourist facilities were developed in Maldives using the loans given by SBI. Many of the businesses that run in Maldives are because of the presence of SBI there. Okay, so if we talk about the economic aspect, these are important. Now the second important aspect is infrastructure. So India has developed many projects there. We had created hospitals, cricket stadium, redevelopment of some of the airports. We have also helped them with construction of water pipelines. India helped with these aspects. So some of the minor things which is important, which is very basic to the requirement of these people. We have also developed technical institutions, The major technical institution, Maldives Institute of Technical Education, was developed by India. So we are helping in many respects. Okay. And India is also an important partner when it comes to disaster management. In 2004, India was itself devastated by the tsunami. And we were also struggling, but we were aware, India was aware that Maldives would not be able to cope with this thing. So India helped Maldives during 2004 tsunami. And in 2014, when Maldives was moving towards China and it was not listening to any of the things whatever India has to say, it was almost opposing all the proposals whatever India was giving. At that point in time, there was a huge water crisis in Maldives. Then also it was India which came forward. And this was the time when actually Maldives realized that India is the closest neighbor, and in case of any disaster or any need, India will be more approachable. China will not be in a position to help India because water is something that whole of the, in this crisis, there was no water in Maldives for drinking purpose or for bathing. But this is a very basic requirement. If you do not have fresh water to drink, even though they are surrounded by ocean, they'll die of thirst, of dehydration. So at that point in time, India launched Operation Neer. Operation Neer, and brought Maldives out of this crisis. So this is very important contribution from the Indian side. Okay, so note it down. So in case of disasters, even Maldives understands that it is India which is going to help. So we are also helping them with some of the desalination plants, the technology which converts saline water into fresh water. Okay, India is helping with that as well. Now we'll look at the relationship to tourism is an important aspect, so we are dealing it under a separate head. We could have dealt it within economic aspect only, but this is a major contributor to this relationship. Maldives is benefiting from the tourism. Okay, Indians often visit this island. A lot of Indians visit this island because of its close proximity and the scenic beauty that it provides. So it has a huge hotel industry there, and like we have seen, SBI is important player there, which has given loan for the development of this industry. And the Maldives, India also benefits from the medical tourism. By Maldivian. This tiny country do not have very good health care facilities that can take care of some of the diseases that happen. Okay? So these people visit India every now and then to avail this medical facility. Okay? So this is medical tourism is also important. Almost more than 50,000 tourists, medical tourists, come to India from Maldives, around 50,000 each year. Okay. The other point of concern, of course, is the security concerns, the defense. You must have heard of this thing, the debt trap policy of China. I'll explain what it is. The biggest threat is debt trap policy of China. You must have heard of this word debt trap in your economy. This is a situation when someone takes loan and it becomes difficult for the one who has taken the loan to repay the interest, leave principal. So this is a situation when you cannot pay the principal amount, neither you can pay the interest on time. Then you are in a debt trap. Now, the one who has given money to you can ask for various concessions. So India fear that China is giving loans to Maldives, and if Maldives will not be in a position to return that money, then it will take control of some of the islands and develop naval bases there, for which can be used against India. Okay, so China is funding projects in Maldives and can force Maldives to give some of the islands to develop naval base that can be used against India. So even when Maldives was drifting away from us, we always chose to help this nation because there can be a situation when China will manipulate this country and utilize its resources against India. And it is very near to us. And we know that this maritime route can be used by other terrorist organizations as well. It can be used by Pakistan. So it is very, very important that we protect our maritime routes, because you must have read this thing in your economy as well, that almost 97 to 98% of the foreign trade of our country happens through this maritime route only. Okay, so it is important from this perspective that we establish good relationship with Maldives. And if we talk about defense, the other aspect which is important is we give training, like we were training the forces of some other countries, Bhutan, Nepal, Afghanistan. We had helped them in past. India is also helping these people to train. Okay. So in a sense, India provides training to the forces. India has also developed helicopter bases. Okay. So we also indulge with Maldives in joint exercises, equivalent. This is a joint exercise between the armed forces of two countries. Okay. So this is important from the perspective of prelims, and you can write these points if a question arises in mains as well. And this instability of Maldives and the terrorist activities which are happening makes this tiny country important. It was in news for many of the reasons, the tourism and all. It was in news many a times. So it is important that you keep a track of Maldives. Okay. And this is the only thing that we need to discuss with Maldives. There is nothing much we need to know. If you want, you can talk about the cultural relations. If you want, we'll look at cultural relations as well. Like I was telling you that the cultural relations, contact since the time of Chola kingdom. So we have ancient ties. We have presence of India's expatriate population, the people who went there before independence and stayed there only, became the citizens of that country. We have these people. India provides scholarship so whenever the people are there, Indian people moved before independence only. So of course, they are the people who are practicing the things that were being practiced in India. So culturally, we came close. Okay. So at this point in time, why it is important? It was in news. Present speaker. This is the second most powerful position in Maldives. And he was a former president, was attacked. There was an assassination attempt. So of course we know that there is going to be instability. These are signs of instability. This is a sign that some fundamentalist group are again active in Maldives. So this is going to stay in news. So it is important. So note it down and follow this news. Muhammad Nasid was attacked and he was also in a critical condition for a few days. But now he is okay. So it is good news for the people of Maldives because he is one of the progressive leaders of Maldives, though he was not very cherished by the people. And at times he was also seen as deviating away from India. So follow this news. And now we'll move to one of the important relationship of India. We'll be talking about Indo-Russian relationships. We'll be focusing on Indo-Russia relationship. This is more important. Maldives. You need to follow. There can be a question. Chances are slim, but there can be a question. So we'll start with, uh, we didn't discuss Sri Lanka. We had discussed Sri Lanka, right? LTT and all, we had discussed in detail. Did we not look at this relationship, India Sri Lanka? Everyone, you need to check your notes. I think that we had discussed this thing, Indo Sri Lanka, the relationship. We had talked about LTT and all. Okay, it's not done. So we'll be looking at Sri Lanka as well. Sri Lanka is an important neighbor. So we'll be looking at Sri Lanka as well. So India Sri Lanka relations, let us start with that only then. I missed that probably. So let's start with India Sri Lanka relations. This is also important. Okay, we'll be talking about. Yeah, Amit, we had talked a little about it probably during the time of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi when we were discussing that, his assassination. So we had discussed about some of the important aspects. And as we had talked about that there were skirmishes between the Sinhala community and Tamil community. And Tamil community, of course, is related to the culture that we share. They are followers of philosophy of Buddhism. And we had linkages since ancient times. This Sri Lanka got independence in 1948. And since then we are in relationship. Sri Lanka got independence. So this country will also not take much of our time because some of the aspects we had discussed, like we talked about the composition we had seen, the makeup. So we'll be quick in discussing the things that we already had done. So some of you who might have forgot this, okay? This is the area dominated by Tamil. In the heart, we have some concentration of Muslim population. Here we have Tamils. Here Muslim population. And rest of this area is Sinhala. Sinhalese population. So this is Subham. My voice No, Shivam. It is not like Sri Lankan Tamils and our Tamilian population is a little different. We are not exactly same because we have been separated, but the language is similar. Some of the cultures is similar, but of course there are differences. They are more influenced by their neighborhoods. Sinhala population, they are different people. Okay. And Subham, check this. Probably my voice is okay. I can see that it is showing that my voice is reaching. No, they didn't came from there. We cannot say that the origin. It is more than 2000 years old culture. The evidences are not clear from where to where. Right? The Tamil culture is very, very ancient. It is as ancient as Sanskrit. No, Deepak, the freedom struggle of India and Sri Lanka, most of the colonial countries did try to uh, establish the relationship, but the independence movement was different. Okay, so we are not concerned with history. That you need to clear when you'll be talking about history. Okay, so some of the things we have discussed. Now we'll talk about like earlier as well. We had discussed that in 1956, the Sinhala Act. All the good things reserved for Sinhalese and Tamils were devoid of many things. So of course, if such thing happen, one community is getting more privilege as compared to the other one. Plus what they did not even give recognition to the language, the Tamil language. So any population will be disheartened if something like that happen. So Sinhala language was given national recognition, but Tamil was not. So of course, such things, what they'll do, these people were not allowed to join the services, the top post of judges, doctors, engineers, professors. It was reserved for the Sinhalese population. Plus, the very language, which was very, very close to this Tamil population, was not even recognized, right? Plus, when these people started demanding their rights, when the Tamil population said that this is not done, we want our rights. So in 1970s, 80s, organized killings of Tamil population. And this the government in power was from the Sinhala group. So they did not care even when riots were happening. They did not do anything to save this population, even when rest of the world, even India was demanding that it should not happen. This is not right. This is wrong. And it was the point, like we had discussed earlier as well. Some of these groups, they started forming Tamils, started forming armed groups. And as I had discussed earlier as well, that research and analysis wing, RAW, of India trained some of these rebellions. Okay? Shivam riots means two communities fighting. Communal riots you have heard, ethnic riots like Hindu-Muslim riots, like the riots happened between one community with other. Any two communities. Caste-based riots also happen in India. Like we had heard of this fight between the Rajput community and the scheduled caste community in Uttar Pradesh. So these are riots. हाँ, हिंदी में उसे दंगा कहते हैं. So this was the time, and among liberation of Tamil Tigers alum LTTE, we had discussed in detail Prabhakaran. We had discussed this thing in detail, led by Prabhakaran. Became a dangerous terrorist organization. Hemant, Vidroh is something different. Vidroh is altogether different. It is not riot. Riot is not Vidroh. Vidroh is revolution. Danga is the right word that Asu had used. Okay, LTT we talked about. And after it came to 4, Prabhakaran made sure that he is the only representative of the Tamil people. There were many groups active, many armed groups were active in Sri Lanka, but he asked them to join his group, and some of the people denied that your ways are not right, then he killed them. In fact, some of the heads of these groups fled to India to save their lives, but he made sure that they are killed here as well. So he was very dangerous man. And like we had discussed, then in 1989, Sri Lanka asked for help. From India. We sent Indian peacekeeping force. Rajiv Gandhi had sent this. And we all know what they did. They dubbed it as innocent people killing force. both Sinhala and Tamil groups attacked Indian peacekeeping forces India lost thousands of soldiers. And had to call back IPKF. And since then, like we had discussed, India had a policy of not meddling with any of the things that were happening in Sri Lanka. Now, after so many things happening, Rajiv Gandhi was killed. And since then, India has, there were groups, actually nobody, Sinhala were complaining that India is helping the Tamil people. They had sent IPKF in order to help the Litte, LTTE. And Tamilians were against these forces because it was called by the Sri Lankan forces. So there was suspicion. Both the groups were not accepting the forces. There was a lot of confusion. And these soldiers had to pay with their lives. And finally, the Indian government understood that they cannot go to full-fledged war with in some other country. So our soldiers were staying there to help them maintain peace. But they were in line of fire of both the groups. The organized armed groups were also of Sinhala people. It was, the military was not killing our soldiers. The armed group, some of the armed groups of Sinhala people was also formed in order to protect themselves from LTTE. Yeah, there was a act between 1987. The act was between Rajiv Gandhi and Jayawardene that we had discussed while I was discussing Rajiv Gandhi. So I am not repeating all the things again. We had already discussed the accord that had happened in 1987 and based on which finally in 1989 IPKF was sent. Okay. So Mahindra Rajapaksa, we know that the infighting continued and India was just an observer after that. India was not much interested. And finally in 2009, LTT was defeated. And at that point in time when they started attacking LTT, India was not very participative. India called for that there should not be any human right violations. But they did not listen. Rajapaksa made sure that it is wiped out. In fact, he ordered to kill even 10-year-old children. And this was a very dangerous group. In fact, some of the bombings was done by children only. Okay, suicide bombings were used by this group very much. These were the people who were actually using this thing. Okay, so this is something that has happened, but one more thing what they did, there was 13th Amendment Act. It is sometimes in news. 13th Amendment of Sri Lanka. It talks about both Sinhala and Tamil as national language, and there was a lot of controversy around this as well. There was lot of controversy about this as well, as the government was not implementing this thing. So, Shivam, the past events are important from the perspective of creating a background. Writing a good introduction will always require you some of these things. Some of these events can be utilized while writing the introduction. And until and unless you are aware about the background of something, it becomes difficult to have grasp over the things that are happening today. Let's say if you are reading somewhere that India is not very keen to take interest in Sri Lankan matters, then you'll not understand. They probably will not write why. But if you know that we were involved there, IPKF was there, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated for that, then you'll understand that because of the events of the past, India is not getting involved in many of the things in our neighborhoods. Even though with Gujarat Doctrine, we tried to change our policy, but still India kept a safe distance till 2014 at least. Even after LTT was demolished, even after that, India did not try to do many things different. We kept a relationship that was very simple. Okay? So, and you know that there were elections. The same Rajpaksa is again in power, who had decimated LTTE. So it is an important neighbor to us. Of course, it is an important neighbor. So now we'll look at some of the aspects which are important. This background is enough. We'll be looking at the economic aspect of this relationship. The two countries have signed free trade agreements, right? You must have heard of this word, free trade agreement in economics. In 1998, free trade agreement was signed. Okay. Which came in force in 2000. So, if you have read economics, of course, लिखा था मृत्युंजय मैंने, आप you didn't see Indian Peacekeeping Force. I had written this full form as well, IPKF. Probably you are not noting down then things, I guess. Note it down, because thereafter you'll find it difficult, because this is the only thing that you have. in your reposits. I'm writing everything. I'm making sure that you are writing everything only because you can stick to the notes and you can update that to read anything. You'll not be requiring any book. But if you are you want to go for any book and waste your time, you're free to do that. But as far as I am concerned, I am giving you most of the things which are relevant from the perspective of exam. The only thing after our lectures which will be required is the newspaper. You have to follow the things in newspaper. Rest of the things you don't need. The newspapers will definitely take care of most of the things that are current. Okay, and if we talk about the relationship, India is one of the top investors in Sri Lanka. Note it down fast. And Sri Lanka has a big market for its products in India. It sells most of its textiles in India. So we are helping this teeny nation, our neighbor, Sri Lanka, as a market. Their products are popular in India. They have also invested in India. Many Sri Lankan companies are operating in India. Like in Vizag, there is a large concentration. Pratyush, the classes will be of 2.5 hours, 11:30 to 2. The same timings that we have been doing for a few days, 11:30 to 2. So, you are in a hurry? The classes will be same. Yeah, Saksham, we are providing line of credit to, and that too to the tune of around 4 billion, I guess, if I'm not wrong. But the facts are like you have to update every now and then. It will be more important when you'll be appearing for the exam. Okay, some of the factual things, recent things, you'll have to add up. Now we'll move to some of the infrastructure related activities that India has helped Sri Lanka with. India has helped in the maintenance of railway lines in Sri Lanka was supported by India. Of course, we need visa. Okay, the maintenance of railway lines. India has also helped with construction of many houses in the areas which was destroyed while LTT was being chased. So the northern and eastern provinces, mainly the Tamilian belt, India has helped in construction of more than 50,000 houses. So lot of development has happened. India has also signed many memorandum of understanding, MOUs, to develop pipelines, airport, etc. So there are a lot of developmental activities happening in Sri Lanka with the help of Indian support. We have pipelines, airports, railway tracks are being developed. Lot many things are happening in Sri Lanka with Indian help. We are also helping them with development of electricity lines, grids. You can talk about all such things. You can add here electricity, railways, road connectivity. So lot of projects are happening with Indian support in Sri Lanka. Note it down. And Sri Lanka is under tremendous debt of India as well. But India is a good neighbor, which is not demanding all the money at once. But China had taken Hambantota port for 99-year lease, and they were forcing Sri Lanka. They were not having, Sri Lankan government was not having control over these things. So recently you must have heard that they had scrapped, they had challenged the lease. No, Shivam, we are not doing this for free. We are helping them. They are taking our support. Some of the projects are undertaken by India, and some of that work is, of course, as a aid to Sri Lanka. Uh, Purnima, it is some of the international commitments happen because we want to build good relationship with those countries because they can come for us in the time of need. Of course, your question is right that why we are not removing the slums and empowering our poor people, and instead we are focusing more on some of the things happening outside. The reason is that Indian government thinks that it has a responsibility of taking care of some of the poor neighbors as well, so that the enemy states which are not in favor of India will not take advantage of those neighbors. So it is more of the humanitarian aid uh, gives a good sense, a good feeling to that country that India is helping them. So their soil will not be used against India. This is the only purpose why we are helping. Okay. Now we'll talk about defense. Like I said, the biggest problem is Sri Lanka is under debt. And China can influence it against India. Hambantota port was given to China for 99 years. It was leased by China. And these are the events which can actually threaten the security of India. China, the string of pearls we had seen. We had seen this thing. So this country is under a lot of debt. In fact, it has to return more than 950 millions to India as well. But India is not forcing this country. Okay, and now they are having complete control over this port. Yeah, Subham, China is using this debt trap policy with almost all the nations with whom they are having a contract. More recently, they had contract with over One Belt, One Road. They started doing this thing with some of the Southeast Asian nations as well. In Africa, they were doing it for a long, long time. And in fact, they have controlled many of the areas there. Okay, so this is a concern. This is point number A. Now, the second point under this is bilateral exercises we are having. This is cooperation. So the bilateral exercises are also important. Mitra Shakti between army. This is an exercise between the two countries. And we have Slinex. The navies are involved in this, of these two countries. And of course, China has always staked claims over the Indian Ocean region. So we are always trying to make sure that Sri Lanka does not deviate towards China. And India was not involving many of the nations, but as the Chinese influence grew, what India started with, it started involving USA and Japan like countries in some of the matters related to Indian Ocean region. So safety concerned. Now we'll talk about cultural relations. Of course, Tamil culture is one of the pivots. Another one is Buddhism. This is a direct link. Okay, these two things are directly and beyond that, these Buddhist institutions are this. India provides scholarship to Sri Lankan students. And both these countries are working together to preserve the Tamil language. Both governments are cooperating. To preserve Tamil language. No, Shivam, they can't. Okay, so this is the cultural relations. Deepak, you think that they are doing good thing by making military bases, indirectly making the small nations to listen to what they have to say. Okay, so and one more thing that is important, the issue of territorial waters, like Safety of fishermen is a cause of concern for both countries. Often you'll read in newspaper that India has arrested fishermen from Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has arrested some of the fishermen from India. And the big problem is our people, what they do, they move near Sri Lanka because the area nearby Sri Lanka has more catch, more fish. And many a time their navy react violently. Sri Lankan navy reacts violently and kill our fishermen. And there is a dialogue process that is continuing. They imprison many of the our fishermen. And a joint commission has been deployed to resolve the issue, but it's not fully functional, and still we are having these issues. अभी क्या है कि maybe if some of the dignitaries are visiting, so they'll leave some of the fishermen. They'll release them from prison. So this is the only thing that is happening on this issue. A joint commission on this issue, but things are still not resolved. I mean, let's say if Sri Lankan president decides to visit India, so what India will do? India will release, let's say, 30 fishermen from Sri Lanka. If our prime minister decides to visit Sri Lanka, they'll release few. Yeah, the problem of these, this problem, the boats. And one more thing, Sri Lanka is also important for us because some of the times we cannot bring large containers to India. So the large containers reach Sri Lankan ports, and from there we bring some of the things which are important for us. Okay. So this is all we need to know about this relationship. Nothing much to discuss in India, Sri Lanka. Kachativu Island controversy was there. The Kachativu Island was a cause of concern for both these countries. And it is jointly administered by both the countries, and this is used by the fishermen of both the countries. So it is important that both the countries try to resolve such things amicably, and we should not kill poor fishermen. Instead, this commission can come up with some suggestion maybe, but it has to be seen in future. The difficulty with international maritime boundaries are like this. If the territorial waters are too close, then there is always confusion. So the confusion shall remain. Okay. So now India Sri Lanka is over. Nothing much. I want you to make sure that you follow if something is in news in future. Okay. Because at this point in time, of course, you can write one topic of health related uh, cooperation. There can be, you can write about COVID and all, how India is helping with the vaccination drive, how India is helping with medical equipment, but the condition has reversed now. Now we want help. Okay, so we can talk about some of these aspects of cooperation between the countries. So I hope all of you have noted this thing. And now we'll move to India, Russia. Okay. Yeah, Adi, you can write about these things, ambulance vaccination. You can definitely talk about such things, but it has to be contemporary aspect when you are appearing for the exam. Noting it down in your notebook is not a very good idea. Okay, because these are small gifts. It will some of the situations will always ensure that such exchanges are happening between the nations. Okay, so it's good that you are following the newspaper. Now we'll talk about India-Russia relationship. Like all of you know that India and Russia share a very good rapport, and Russia was supporting India in many of the events that we have seen over the Jammu and Kashmir issue. It has vetoed many a times when things were going against India. We had discussed this thing. But this relationship has become more important in last few years. The reason being that there was a confusion. There were talks that Russia is now drifting away from India and it is getting closer to Pakistan. It is getting more close to China, and it was a cause of concern for India. But as far as Russia is concerned, we can see that it is very clear, though it has given the uh, idea to India as well that they will be establishing relationship with many other nations because it is beneficial for them as well. But they made it very, very clear that they are with India in most of the cases. They are not developing any special and privileged relationship that is with India, right? They are not doing that with even China. So we'll look at some of the aspects of this relationship. And the one question that can be asked on this topic is, this is the aspect that I have talked about. Why Russia seems to be drifting away from India? Is it happening or not? There can be a question on that. तो रशिया के साथ रिलेशनशिप हमेशा इंपॉर्टेंट है, आपको क्वेश्चन कभी भी मिल सकता है इस पे, ठीक है. सो विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडिया रशिया रिलेशंस. एंड एज वी नो that when India became independent, early 1950s, Cold War era, USSR was not interested in India as it was non-aligned. So initially, even Russia was not keen to have any kind of relationship with India because we were non-aligned. There was non-aligned movement, and being one of the major superpowers, it also wanted countries to be very clear. Either they want to stay with USA in their camp or in its camp. It was also very clear. And at that point in time, Joseph Stalin was heading Russia, and he did not give any importance to India at that point in time. But from mid 1950s, the things changed between these two countries as but what India did? India adopted 5-year plans. Based on Soviet model. And somehow adoption of these plans probably convinced Russia that India can be ally of Russia because they are adopting Soviet ways. And Russia supported us later. But in 1956, the USSR crushed protests in Hungary. India spoke against it. Relations strained. So Russia was also a kind of harsh nation. So there were protests happening and they used force against it. Okay? So the relations, India said that we are not with Russia, we are with the people of Hungary. And India condemned the action of USSR. So this relationship was spoiled. Okay? But in 1958, Russia helped us in developing our IITs, specifically USSR and UNESCO helped India with in developing IIT Bombay. Okay. So Russia helped us in development of and at the time of war, of course, we know 1962. USSR said that it will co-produce MiG-21 with India. And denied technology to China. Though USSR did not meddle in the fight, but it said that it will help India with MiG-21 and it will not be giving that technology to China. China was also demanding this thing. Of course, we know after in 1965, it was also involved in Tashkent agreement. We have read about it. We had discussed this thing in detail when we were talking about Lal Bahadur Shastri. So I'll not be investing much time on this thing. You need to note it down here. And at that point in time, the thing was not like they were cordial to India. In fact, in 1966, when Tashkent Agreement was signed, USSR had forced India. And there is also a theory that says that Lal Bahadur Shastri succumbed under tremendous pressure. No, Amit, we do not need permission. We don't need to replicate. Policy framework you can do. And nobody is taking exact policy framework, right? 5-year plan, we made our 5-year plans based on our requirement. The modeling was same, but the minute details, of course, will change with as per the requirement of the country. And hereafter, we all know that what happened. 1991, USSR disintegrated. India established cordial relationship with Russia. We have talked in detail about all such things. So it is just a brief review of the things that you already know. Yeah, Deepak, you have yourself answered. You have written the gossip, right? You have used the term gossip, that Shastri ji was poisoned. So, of course, he could have died and he died because of heart attack. But there are always conspiracy theories. Like some of the theories says that we are aliens. Like maybe your teacher is alien. Maybe some of my students are alien. So these are all conspiracy theories and you should not give any heed to such things. Okay. So the government to government ties are very good when it comes to India and Russia. And to take care of the relationship between the countries, we have created an India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission. Okay. To take care of all the matters, there is the relationship is based on the things that these commissions there are two commissions. Okay, there are two commissions, two wings of the same commission. There, we cannot say that there are two commissions, but there are two wings of the same commission which have a shared responsibility. The two commissions, one commission is entrusted with the military cooperation, the military technology. It only takes care of its responsibility is to ensure that there is no confusion when it comes to talks of military technology. And as we know, almost 60% of our arsenal is still Russian. All the defense related equipments that we have today, India have today, almost 60% of all the defense equipments were purchased from Russia only. And the other commission takes care of economic relationship, the political relationship, how it will be shaped, some of the scientific discourses, the cultural ties. Because this thing is very important for Russia. India is one of the biggest buyers of defense equipment. And if a country is getting most of its equipment from a single country, of course, it will make sure that India is having easy access for these things. Okay. Now we'll look at some of the aspects that are important between these two countries. India and Russia have signed a strategic partnership agreement in 2010. And now it calls it as privileged strategic partnership. This was in 2000, only strategic partnership. Now this relationship is privileged strategic partnership. Note it down. In 2010, So whenever you are talking about the relationship between two nations, always try to write this thing. This shows the nature of relationship that India is having with Russia. Okay, Karan, your question is, do China perceives India as a threat? Of course it does. Not directly from the military point of view, but it perceives India as a danger from the perspective of the area that is Tibet. Because Dalai Lama is in India and the population that is in Tibet is not in favor of staying with China. So it is always in fear. China is always in fear that India may initiate separatist tendency in Tibet. And that is the only reason it always tries to fight at borders, so that it is a reminder for India. The moment India does anything wrong to China, they will again try to capture our territory. Okay, so these provocation is for those things only, and it wants to show itself as a mighty country. So of course China does things like that. Subham, yeah, no, it is not like at this point in time nobody can capture everything. They have traditional claims, like they think that the parts of Arunachal are very similar to what the culture is there in Tibet, even the racial composition. So based on those things, some of the historical facts, they claim it. Okay. So now we'll look at some of the relationship that we have with Russia. And like we have seen that they focus much on military technology. So the first relationship we'll be looking at is defense related, or we'll write the heading military technology because they have created a commission for that. Okay. So we'll talk about this. Russia is the country which has transferred many of many technologies to India initially, like we had seen uh, in 1962 only it has declared that it will co-develop MiG-21 with India. So we are involved in many of the joint research and development projects. We have many projects which both the countries are working together on, like BrahMos. You must have heard of the cruise missile. You'll be reading about these things in detail in your science and technology. That BrahMos is important. It always stays in news. So we have aircraft carrier. Both the countries are developing these things together. Vikramaditya, INS Vikramaditya is an example. So while writing your answers, you need to mention few of these names. Deepak, why you have moved to this thing again, China? And you are talking about some of the things that are more of, yeah, nobody is, Indian bureaucrats are not seen running Russian embassy anyhow. Okay. So, Kamov 226T helicopters. Okay. So, few names are sufficient. You can talk about fifth generation aircrafts jointly working on it. We can talk about some of the names. Sukhoi is something that we have purchased. S-400, it is not joint. I am talking about joint projects. Okay. All these names that you are taking is important. But these are directly purchased and we do not. Protyus, it is out of a box question, I guess. I teach geography, and of course, ecology and environment, disaster management, all are part of geography only. So I definitely teach those things as well. International relations, of course, I'm teaching. So military technology, the word joint is important. I have written that. Now, whatever you are telling, S-400 and all, of course, we are upgrading the MiG-29. The other things that are happening is upgradation of MiG-29, S-400 missile defense system. It is an air defense system that China was also interested. And at a point in time, it seemed that Russia will sell it to China as well. But finally, they decided not to. Okay. So it is part of the air defense system that India is developing. In science and technology, you'll be reading in detail about these things. So we have joint military exercise. Joint military exercise. Devam, there was a Kaveri engine as well on which both were working. But it did not fructify. Okay. So people, joint completed projects, of course, we consider that when most of the things are given by some other, the technology transfer is there, then we do not actually call it as joint project. Okay. And of course, we have lot of training projects and all happening between these two countries. So these many names are more than enough. Write few of them and also mention that India still have more than 60%. So of course its role is important. Yeah, they are also helping us with establishment of factory like in Amethi. Okay, so you can mention some of these points. If something is current, you are appearing in the very same year, then make sure that you are doing this thing. Yeah, Divam. All right, you're right. Okay. So you can mention such things. The most recent activities, whenever you are writing mains, do it. Else, we'll talk about the broad things only. You will add few things which are very contemporary, very current when you are writing the mains. Now we'll look at some of the relationship related to economy, the economic aspect of this relationship. And you can use this point in economic aspect as well, Devam, that you have mentioned, right? Because whenever in defense or in economic aspect, both you can use that point. It is up to you. Because production of anything is definitely going to give monetary benefits. So economic aspects, when we talk about, bilateral trade relations, we deal in many aspects, arms being one of those. Okay. And Russia has actually extended its support for our Make in India program. It is helping India with Indian railways. It is building smart cities. Okay. It is involved in Israel, of course, is important. At this point in time, they are having skirmishes. So Israel-Palestine issue becomes important now. Okay. We'll be dealing with that. We'll be dealing with those aspects. And the smart cities they are building in Andhra and Haryana. Okay. Railway project for increasing speed. So this project was won by Russia. India wants to increase the speed. I'm coming to it, Deepak. I'll be dealing with each and every aspect. You need not be worried about it. Focus on the things that is being discussed. Of course, I'll be dealing with those points as well. And in for economic aspect, railway projects. So there is also a fund created. Okay. US dollar 1 billion fund for these two countries, and it will basically it is called as National Infrastructure Investment Fund. Okay, direct fund of Russia. This fund is for so these many points in this. Now we'll talk about the connectivity aspect. Connectivity. So very recently, uh, 2 years back, there was a proposal from Russia to connect Vladivostok with Chennai, and we are working on it. Okay, so there is a proposal of this Chennai Vladivostok shipping lane project. And now I want you to draw a map. So if you talk about connectivity through shipping lanes between India and Russia, now it is connected via this route. Okay, this is the route. So it is connected to St. Petersburg. Okay, so if you look at the map, you'll see that this is somewhat like this. Here we have a space, the water body reaches up to this. Okay. So this is the normal route that, and this, now what India is planning, that will start from Chennai. It will, it takes around 40 days. This journey is 40 days. And this will reduce to 24 days by shipping route. As the distance will reduce, it is around 8645 nautical miles. It is around 5640. Around 10,000 kilometers, and it is more than 18,000 kilometers. So this is the regular and the new one, proposed one. In this diagram only, I'll be talking about north-south transport corridor. The Arctic trade route, it is a proposed trade route connecting these two places from there. Okay? But more important in this is north-south transport corridor. Draw it, and then after I'll talk about north-south transport corridor. Okay, Pooja, you have drawn. So this is a project. Now the second point, point B, I'll be drawing in the same, I'll be using the same diagram, but this is altogether a different point. So if you want, you can draw another diagram, or you can use this one as well. Point B. And this is north-south transport corridor. Okay. So north-south transport corridor. It is basically multi-mode network. What it means? It will include road, it will include railways, and it will also include shipping. Network. and basically it is from Moscow, the capital of Russia, to Mumbai. When it was envisaged, this was the plan, but now we know that St. Petersburg has also been included. So note it down. I'm giving you 30 seconds. Then I'll draw I'll show that over the same map. If you want, you can draw another map, or you can also draw over it, but do not get confused later. Everybody has noted multi-mode network, road railway shipping, Moscow to Mumbai. Okay. This is your Moscow, and the plans are to connect it with Mumbai. Now this is also connected. Your Moscow, then Astrakhan, these two are in Russia only. Okay, both these places are in Russia. Then it will get connected to Baku. This place is in capital of Azerbaijan. From Baku, this is B, Baku, B-A-K-U. Okay. From this place to this place, Baku, it is surrounded by, this is Caspian Sea. And then it will be connected to, this place is Bandar Abbas in Iran. And from here it will be connected to Mumbai. So this is okay, you need not draw even these places. What, yes, if you are finding it difficult, what you can do, write Moscow, then Astrakhan, then Baku. In exams, it will be a better approach. Okay? Then Bandar Abbas and then Mumbai. You can show like this. And between these two places, like I said, just draw a shape and write Caspian Sea. You can draw like this also. Okay, you are having current affair class from 2 only. I was not aware of this thing. So will be Protyus, I think that you are getting confused between some of the things. It is directly getting connected. Pakistan's design, this project was already escaping some of the part. Pakistan was not part of the design. So as you are having class at 2, so I'll be leaving here only because there it's already 2. Okay. So we'll meet in next lecture. I hope everybody has noted this down. So you didn't get even chance to have your lunch then. Deepak, you can include if you want. Okay, you can include that. Okay, so study well, everyone. Yeah, Karunesh, I got it. So you need to start with your current affairs classes, and maybe in the meanwhile you can ask uh, your family members to give you food. खाली पेट पढ़ाई नहीं होगी, ठीक है? So enjoy your time. Have a wonderful time and take care. Stay healthy. Okay? North-South transport corridor. Yeah, this is this one. This is that only, Adi. So you have next class, so continue with that. We will discuss this rest of the part tomorrow. Okay? So take some rest and start with the next class. Have a nice time.